Hey, welcome back. It's your boy Will J. Let's get into some deck brewing shenanigans. This is the second video of our Dominaria United Precon challenge. And if you're just joining us, we are building 4 new alternate precons, secret precons if you will, on top of the official releases. We've already covered Ivy, Gleeful Spell Thief in our first video. And before we get into it, I just want to be upfront that these are designed with specs just like the precons we're used to getting every set. Which means we're trying to use some new cards from DMU and we have certain deck building guideline restrictions we're following, and we are definitely leaving room for upgrades. But quote unquote out of the box, these 4 decks should make for a good play experience when facing off against each other. And just like our previous video, I'm gonna tear the fabric of reality here for a second and really pretend that these are gonna be released, so again, I hope you could humor me on this. Our second precon features the legendary elf artificer Meria, Scholar of Antiquity, and her deck, Rampaging Relics. Let's open the box and check out what we're getting. First, let's talk about our commander. Meria is a 3-mana value 3/3 elf artificer that gives our non-token artifacts the ability to tap for 1 green mana, essentially turning them into ramp. She also lets us tap 2 non-token artifacts to exile the top card of our library, which we can then play that turn, essentially letting us impulse draw. Meria is a powerful commander for sure. If she ramps, she's card advantage, and we'll cover how much spiciness Rampaging Relics carries in our usual themes of ramp, removal, and draw, but then I'll go over the other themes the deck gives us: Rampagers, Extra Smash, Extra Armor, and something we like to call UBP, or Utilities, Moms, and Pets. Rampaging Relics only has one mode: Go, and the ramp package is consistent and really sets us up to burst out of the gates almost every game. It comes with the usual Soul Ring and Arcane Signet seen in every precon, but it also gives us a Gruul Signet and an Ornithopter of Paradise. Yes, green has land ramp, but I understand that these artifacts will also help us trigger Meria's second ability when we need to. This is also why we see a few more ramp artifacts like Wayfarer's Bauble and Inscribed Tablet, which we don't always need to sacrifice immediately because they can give us value in other ways. However, because we are green, it's no surprise that the deck runs Rampant Growth, Nature's Lore, and Farseek as 2-drop land ramp staples, as well as Cultivate and Ranger's Path for a multiple ramp action, plus a Search for Tomorrow, which we can suspend for 1 or play for 3. Sprouting Goblin is a new red card that lets us ramp and also lets us trade in lands later to draw, while Tanuki Transplanter is an artifact creature that, if equipped, can give us a ritual effect while also tapping for green if Meria is out. Last in the ramp list, Blink Moth Urn, a 5-drop artifact that can give us a lot of mana based on how many artifacts we run, and since we can tap it using Meria's ability, makes the effect asymmetrical. The removal package of the deck is a little thin, which means we'll want to be the aggressor when playing this deck and let the other players worry about our consequences. Tail Swipe is an instant speed targeted removal fight spell from Dominaria United. Chain Reaction is a 4-drop that wipes creatures, while Decimate is a 4-drop that lets us pick off multiple targets across multiple players. Steel Hellkite is a big flyer that can sweep tokens for free or take out problematic non-land permanents if it gets in. And Azuri's Predation is a 1-sided wipe of sorts that gives us a bunch of Phyrexian beasts, which perfectly describes why Dominaria needs to unite right now. Meria already lets us impulse draw, which is partly what makes her a strong and consistent commander, but Rampaging Relics also gives us other ways to ensure the deck keeps humming. Harmonize is a classic draw spell in green, while Unexpected Windfall and Big Score both let us draw 2 cards and create some treasures. But those are one-shot draw spells. Howling Mine is a consistent source of card draw for over the length of the game, and much like Blink Moth Urn, can become a one-sided draw effect since Meria lets us tap it for free. Outpost Siege has a similar effect, but instead of draw, we get to impulse draw on our upkeep. Mind's Eye is also a good engine, letting us draw when our opponents do, and Meria even lets it tap itself to pay for the 1 to draw us a card. There are also other repeatable draw effects in the precon, albeit conditional ones. Lifecrafter's Bestiary requires us to play a creature, but it does let us scry every upkeep. Vivian Champion of the Wilds is the planeswalker that comes with the precon, and while she gives our creatures flash, which is great, she also lets us dig 3 deep to look for a creature. Garruk's Uprising draws us a card if we have a 4-power creature on the field, and also draws us whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under our control. It also has an Anthem effect of giving our creatures trample. Which brings us to our next theme, the Rampagers. We want to play our big threats ahead of the curve and really pressure our opponent's life totals. Rada's Firebrand is an evasive threat that comes down early, and she can pump herself up to 5 power. Yavimai's Iconoclast can also start the beats early as a 4/3 hasty trampler. Shivan Devastator is a versatile finisher from Dominaria United, letting us dump a little or a lot into X for an evasive hasty creature. Giant Adiphage is a 7-drop 7/7 trampler that multiplies itself if it can get in, which is usually the case. Triplicate Titan is also another big creature with flying, vigilance, and trample that splits itself into 3 when it dies. And Thrasta Tempest Roar is a huge 7/7 trample haste dinosaur that can also trample over planeswalkers and can come down a lot earlier than its 12 mana value suggests. While those threats naturally try to rampage through everything, we can create our own monsters by giving ourselves some extra smashing power. Hero's Heirloom is a Dominaria United equipment that gives +2/+1 and potentially trample and haste. Kyrian Beastcaller is a new card that's a 2 mana value 2/2 that steadily grows over the course of the game based on the number of creatures we cast. And if it gets blown up, it lets us distribute those counters among the creatures that survive it. Verdurous Gearhulk is another creature that cares about counters, and it's a 5 mana value 4/4 with trample that can immediately distribute 4 +1/+1 counters among our creatures, potentially even making it an 8/8 when it lands. General Marhault Elf's Dragon is a 4 mana value 4/4 that's also new and makes our creatures difficult to block profitably. Given that to kill one of ours through combat damage, they need to exceed its toughness by at least 3 power. Ranger class gives us a wolf token, nice, but also steadily pumps our creatures one at a time if we stay aggressive, while Bowl of Nylea has a death touch anthem as well as letting us steadily put +1/+1 counters on our creatures. It also has some versatility in shooting down small flyers or gaining us life, but those are really just nice add-ons. Rabbit Battery is a reconfigured creature that gives +1/+1 in haste, while Lizard Blaze is a reconfigured creature that gives double strike. Bronzeplate Boar is a reconfigured creature that gives +3/+2 and trample, and Kamenu Battle Armor is a reconfigured creature that gives +2/+2 and menace, while also having a sneaky effect of being able to goad each creature an opponent controls whenever the equipped creature deals them some combat damage. I found the use of Reconfigure as an interesting mechanic in this precon, because not only are they essentially creatures that can survive creature wipes, but they're also artifacts that can be tapped to power Meria's abilities. Rounding out the list, and one of the finishers in this deck, is Mage Slayer. It's like Fling without the sacrifice in that it lets you already deal the damage equal to the power of your attacking creature as an attack trigger, and it doesn't even need to connect to deal that damage. All the rampaging and smashing leaves us susceptible to dying or getting blown up, so we need some armor to protect us. Wearing a pair of Swiftfoot boots not only gives a creature haste, but also hexproof. Downgrade Regent gives all our permanents hexproof for as long as we can stay the Monarch. And Temur Sabertooth is a powerhouse in almost all the decks it fits in. Not only does it protect your creatures by letting you bounce them back to your hand, it also gives itself indestructible, making it something really hard to get rid of. A great staple to add to your collection. If you haven't been able to save your artifacts though, the Precon also gives us a couple of recursion effects through Scrap Welder, which lets us swap out an artifact for another, and Trading Post, which lets us trade a creature in for an artifact in our graveyard. Lastly, Red-Green generally struggles against flyers, and so having some equipment that gives us reach, such as Spider Silk Net and Web Spinner Cuff, are good ways to ensure that we have blockers. Plus, since they're artifacts, they too can activate Meria's ability. For UBP, Rampaging Relics lends us some support to really seal the deal, plus a powerful chase card. We're given more ways to get in with Key to the City and Cliffhaven Kite Sail, both of which give evasion to our threats. Fires of Yavimaya is another anthem effect, this time giving haste, with the backup plan of sacrificing it to get that extra bit of damage in. Torment Script is a 0-drop artifact that acts as Graveyard Hate, always being responsible, and a Quarter Shield and Cather Shield are also a pair of 0-drops that can fuel Meria's abilities, while also giving our creatures more flexibility through increased toughness and vigilance. The chase card of the Precon though is Unwinding Clock. It lets us untap all our artifacts on the other player's untap steps, which just opens up all types of synergies in the deck, like Mind's Eye, Trading Post, or even currying political favors with Howling Mine and Blink Moth Urn. We can also sink our mana into Svella Ice Shaper, one of the legendary lieutenants of the deck, which can ramp us during the early to mid game through these icy mana lifts, but also hopefully spin us into a threat late with its 8 mana activated ability, where we can look at the top 4 of our library and immediately cast any spell for free, ignoring timing restrictions. Let's see how the Rampaging Relics Precon stacks against our playability matrix. If you're curious to hear more about the matrix, I go more in depth on this in our Rethinking Power Levels video, and you can check that out too. But for offense, there are a lot of artifacts in the deck, cheap ones at that, which can all consistently trigger Meria's draw ability, on top of the many draw spells that this deck already gives us. Having no tutors is a general pattern Precons have, and it hurts the consistency score a bit, but really I think the main thing holding this deck back and why I didn't rank it even higher is because there aren't that many game-ending threats. If you draw them early enough, absolutely you're in a great position to win the game, but it's far from guaranteed, and that's why the consistency takes a bit of a hit. The deck ramps like crazy though, with Meria letting you tap artifacts for mana, plus the 15 ramp spells the deck already has. It lets you play any big threat much earlier than you should, and so it lets you pressure the board early and heavily if you draw the right cards. All of this nets it a pretty high efficiency rating. As for the quality of its win cons though, honest combat damage is its primary game plan, and even if you get that game plan going early, it still takes multiple turns. This is fun in the right pod, but if you're looking for something more competitive, this is an area that can be improved. Overall, I'd grade this Precon's offense at a solid B. For defense, there aren't many disruptive pieces in the deck, and so player removal is its go-to solution for most problems. On top of that, Meria isn't really a defensive commander. I mean, sure, she helps you dig for a wipe when you need it, but overall the Precon isn't the most defensively consistent deck. I do like that among the disruption it does pack, most of them are wipes or hits multiple targets. Sure, they're also at sorcery speed, which isn't the best, but at least we aren't one-for-oneing ourselves when the supply is already low. The coverage is seemingly decent, hitting a range of permanents and being able to take out multiple pieces at once. However, there are cards for different types of permanents, and because supply is low, this can sometimes hurt more than it helps. Overall, I'd grade this Precon's defense at a D. Putting it all together, Rampaging Relics is a good Precon deck to pilot in mid-power casual pods. And that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed this second secret Precon deck reveal. I'm sorry about my voice if it's a little shot. I had a lot of work stuff. I've been working really late. But anyway, the deck list should be available in the description below in a Moxfield link. If you found this interesting, then tap that like button and make sure to subscribe and hit the bell because we'll be unveiling the last 2 Dominaria United secret Precon decks in the days to come. And with that, stay inspired friends, and I'll see you next time.